President Muhammadu Buhari has introduced a series of policies to make Nigeria great again through sustainable development across all the major economic sectors of the country. These efforts have inspired the Tertiary Education Trust Fund through the Honorable Minister of Education, Malam Adamu, to support the President within the context of its mandate and the foundational functions of Nigeria's academia. The Executive Secretary of TETFund, Professor Suleiman Elias Bogoro, was uncomfortable with the maintenance of status quo at Nigeria's academic space. Globally, universities perform three main strategic functions: teaching, research, and community development. However, in the Nigerian context, the academia had swayed towards prioritizing teaching at the expense of research and community development. The TETFund boss therefore resolved that TETFund intervention must be steered towards helping the academic community to serve its core responsibilities in national development by activating the role in community development. Professor Bogoro initiated a paradigm shift to galvanize content development and the teaching of new knowledge required in the knowledge economy of the 21st century, based on the firm belief that research and development is the highway to development, industrialization, and self-sustenance.
The idea of focusing on R&D as a priority area for the academia that our law permits us to fund from TETFund started in 2014. And I wrote, the Board of Trustees asked me to articulate my vision for 5 years as Executive Secretary of TETFund. And I wrote a six-pointer. And one of the 6 pillars of my vision was the institutionalization of R&D in Nigeria beyond the academia. And it was supposed to be, we thought, at the level of TETFund. Somebody would ask, why bother about picking on an area of amongst the many out there? And it was very simple. At TETFund, we have the mandate by law of the organization to intervene in priority areas that will improve teaching and learning, quality of education, etc., etc. And since the educational institutions, being the public ones, specifically universities, federal, state, polytechnics, federal, state, colleges of education, federal, state, have very clear priorities, being teaching, research, and community development. It was very, very clear that we needed to know what are the priority interventions consistent with the expectations of the client. And I think that is when, for me, that is the year, of course, I was barely a month or two in office as Executive Secretary of TETFund, 2014, when this happened. And for me, I reflected over what I know obtains, for instance, in the university system where I operated, and I still operate anyway, as a professor. And I realized that we have a major problem. Major problem being we are not prioritizing research enough. We tend to have been emphasizing teaching, of course, at the expense of research. And I insist that one shapes, defines, and strengthens the other. Definitely it is research that shapes, strengthens, and defines teaching. If you are teaching and you are not improving courtesy of research, either through pedagogic skills, etc., then the quality of teaching and communication of knowledge diminishes.
The rationale for the paradigm shift was drawn from some of the critical components of the Executive Order 5, signed by President Buhari in February of 2018, directed towards attaining a greater Nigeria. This vision is encapsulated in this initiative of the Intervention Agency. TETFund already has an excellent track record in physical infrastructure intervention, as it has funded the construction of over 10,000 projects across 226 beneficiary public tertiary institutions in Nigeria over the past 20 years of its existence. TETFund's strategy to make these physical infrastructures optimally functional is to provide the needed gray matter and R&D infrastructures, which the paradigm shift is signposting. In 2015, the Department of Research and Development Centers of Excellence was established in TETFund to coordinate the new paradigm of institutionalization of R&D in Nigeria's public tertiary institutions, ultimately expanding the culture to the whole nation. The objective of this shift is not to divert attention away from physical infrastructure. It is to ensure that quality information is abundantly available through basic and applied research so that investments in physical infrastructure and other initiatives can yield maximum results, and that decision-making is based on correct information, good analysis, data, evidence, and science.
We have seen that there is no platform where the triple helix model has been well situated for the development of the country. We've done some experiments as a nation, and I'm happy to speak about it. Before 1999, we believe that our problem are the militaries. So our first experimentation was around our political system. Can we model democracy if it's going to give us a solution? So that political experiment has been ongoing for over 2 decades. And the result is clear to all of us. So that's hypothesis 1. Then we look at it and say, no, it might not be only that. It might not be because we have some economic doldrum and we have a lot of resources. We need to diversify the economy. So there's been a lot of programs. There's been a lot of policy documents, Vision 2020, ERGP, a lot of things. So there has been a lot of experimentation around the economy too, and we know the result as of today. Now, can we trust science for the first time? Can we trust research and development? And now make it a new hypothesis to actually see if we can change this country for the better.
Once upon a time, Nigeria's tertiary institutions were bustling with staff and students not only from around the country, but from all over the world. Expatriates from many nations, including the United States, the UK, India, Pakistan, Russia, Germany, and Jamaica, as well as African countries like Ghana, Cameroon, Swaziland, Tanzania, and Angola, were permanent or temporary fixtures of the campuses of Nigerian universities. Unfortunately, as the quality of our education dipped with little investment in maintenance or further development, Nigeria became less and less attractive for the world's intellectuals. On the global stage, the ratings of Nigerian universities plummeted.
Take it or leave it. The ranking of the topmost, the Ivy Leagues of this world, universities. Cambridge, Oxford, Harvard, Yale, we can go on and on. I tell you, it has to do with the quality of research, particularly the faculty. You have to look at the quality of faculty. Those research equipment will be derelict if you don't have personnel that have capacity to operate them. From the professors, to the laboratory scientists, to the biometric engineers, depending on which area of discipline. That's why the terminologies are separate. You need them. The faculty is key. If you don't have, in many universities of today, they want to have a topmost world-rated professor is sought for to just come to a university for 1 week. He goes into a classroom with some student that have seen that person's publication, outcome of publications, and believe me, they will never be the same again.
This trend is being reversed by TETFund under the principles of the paradigm shift. The outcomes of the internationalization agenda have crystallized to the signing of strategic memorandum of understanding with highly profiled institutions in Europe and America. In May 2020, TETFund secured a 25% tuitions discount for Nigerian-sponsored TETFund scholars to undergo PhD degrees in Morgan State University, Baltimore, Maryland, United States of America. The MOU was significant because both the World Education Service and Test of English Language for Nigerians studying at MSU under this agreement were waived. This was an unprecedented game changer for the Nigerian scholars studying PhD degrees in the United States universities. Others include Agricultural Research and Innovation Fellowship in Africa, midwife by Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa, the research arm of the African Union in Brazil, under the South-South Triangular Agreement. Training of academia and international exposures on research grant writing, administration, and management at the City State University, Dayton, Ohio, USA, Cambridge University, London, as well as Dubai and Rwanda. Proposed innovation for development and entrepreneurship training in Finland, capacity building of the laboratory technician from public tertiary institutions on cutting-edge instrumentations in France to mainstream the science, technology, and innovation agenda. Master's, PhD, and postdoctorate training of Nigerian scholars in Germany under special discretionary arrangements on subjects that can facilitate Nigeria's knowledge economy.
We have a capacity building training for grant writing skills because we identified in liaison with the regulatory agencies that there is very poor capacity for writing quality research grants by lecturers. And that is not good news. It couldn't be. And so TETFund is putting money, and beyond that, each time during the trainings, we also globalize the whole environment operating in the campuses.
The idea of these interventions as part of the new paradigm in TETFund is to accelerate content development in Nigeria's own tertiary education system. Having invested heavily in infrastructure over the years, TETFund is being repositioned to intervene in the areas of content development so as to position the TEIs in Nigeria to respond effectively to national challenges while leading development across all sectors of the economy through research outputs and outcomes.
And somebody would ask, oh, why is TETFund concerned? Yeah, we are concerned because, let me say this, some people have said, well, TETFund is doing some things that maybe you thought NUC, NBT, NCC are supposed to be doing. And I said, hey, do you want us to just be putting money anywhere? It is wrong. We must put money in the right place. So by the law of TETFund, NUC, NBT, NCC are members of the board. That's their chief executive, being the executive secretaries of these three institutions. They are members of the board of trustees of TETFund, so that they guide us. Together we sit with them. They are the ones that guide us. They regulate and give policy direction to the beneficiary institutions that we fund. So we need to hear them. And today I can tell you, we're working exceptionally close with the National Universities Commission, NBTE, NCCE, in many areas. NCCE, for instance, come and say, look, TETFund should put some money on the teaching practice. We've been doing that. The polytechnics, hey, let's have some money on fabrications. We've been doing that. as well as entrepreneurship, as it were, for both universities and polytechnics. I mean, we listen to the regulators and we are guided. So that is how TETFund has naturally been involved. How do we proceed? The strategy to institutional R&D was, TETFund does not have a department for R&D. Why don't we have it? And I said, to do that, let us tie it to centers of excellence. That is the issue of quality of segments, of parts of activities in a university or anywhere else. That's what a center of excellence is.
Perhaps the most exciting and well-received components of the TETFund paradigm shift are the TETFund Centers of Excellence and the Standing Committee on Research and Development. TETFund established the first ever 12 new Centers of Excellence in December of 2020, following the approval of President Buhari, who acted promptly on the recommendation of TETFund's Board of Trustees through the Minister of Education, Malam Adamu. The centers have since hit the ground running, following an initial grant of 1 billion naira each. Recently, the African Union extended an invitation for the induction workshop and twinning program for the TCOEs with the relevant continental centers of excellence, specifically Agricultural Research Center, Egypt, and Pan-African Center for Veterinary Development, Ethiopia. The TETFund Research and Development Standing Committee was inaugurated to amplify the paradigm shift towards economic advancement, global competitiveness, and the attainment of knowledge economy in the earliest possible time in Nigeria. The committee is a think tank of 165 Nigerians divided into 13 thematic groups based on the priority activity sectors of the economy to stimulate responses to our national challenges.
If we invest appropriately, that is precisely why now we've inaugurated the R&D Standing Committee, and they have gone far with their work. They have met twice, and the outcomes are unbelievably tantalizing. The kind of data and information they generated while going around this country. The beauty about the Standing Committee is that for the first time we saw partnership, very strong partnership between the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Science and Tech. And that is good for Nigeria. TETFund were able to sign an MOU with Federal Ministry of Science and Tech. And because most of the research institutes supervised by the Ministry of Science and Tech, they are working in partnership with universities and polytechnics.
The strategic focus of the RDSC include to facilitate the industrialization for R&D in Nigeria and all spheres of our national lives, improved global ranking of Nigeria's tertiary institutions, to promote global competitiveness of Nigerian products and services through value addition, and capacity strengthening for skills in the development and management of knowledge economy. But the main goal of the RDSC is the establishment of the National R&D Foundation in Nigeria in order to provide a platform for the academia, the industry, and the government to constantly tackle Nigeria's problems and inspire the nation's accelerated development together. This is called the Triple Helix Model.
The key expected outcome from the R&D Standing Committee, RDSC as we call it, is the establishment of National R&D Foundation for Nigeria. And I tell you, if you look at the sub-thematic areas, 13 of them, it speaks to the diversity of this thing, and I believe you may reflect over that. But I tell you, going beyond that is to say, we are hoping that at the end, already there's a recommendation. A team packages it, and a case is made for an executive bill to emerge from it, to go to the National Assembly, hopefully, God willing, in a matter of months. If that happens and we get it right, we hope that not long from now, we may be able to have a bill sanctioned by the National Assembly for the establishment of a National Research and Development R&D Foundation for Nigeria that will represent Nigeria's genuine commitment to a veritable knowledge economy as a driver of competitiveness at this time in our history.
The global engagement we are embarking on now is adding value to the existing report. Let me firstly say that I'm happy to report, let me put it that way, that we have nothing less than 34 reports, individual reports that has been generated, and these reports are not the same thing. They are reports that we characterize in two ways. The first one has to do with the Research and Development Standing Committee report, which are purely the outcome of their engagement, about 26 reports. Then we have what we call the Establishment Framework report for the National Research and Development Foundation. Under those reports, we're going to be saying the National Master Plan for R&D. It's ready, and we have the 5-year strategic plan for R&D in this country. It's ready. We have what we call the project information document that is actually tied towards achieving the standard of the World Bank and the United Nations. So that's going to be the marketing document. That's going to be the discussion document because it contains the brief. We've moved on to now have the profile. There's a profile that we develop for people to see who are the contributors, who are the people that have worked tirelessly around this particular assignment. Moving forward, we've just come up with what we call the cross-cutting chart. I will speak more on the cross-cutting issue. And that map has actually shown us the interconnectivity and the synergies among all the groups. So with all this report, like you said, what next? We are going to continue the global engagement because we want to believe that we can still be adding value. And I said that one will take us to December, pretty much this year. On the other side of it, the convener, ES of TETFund, Professor S. Bogoro, is not resting. It's actually being challenged and being inspired every day to make sure that we actually get to the finish line on time. Because if we continuously be telling you that we have time bound, it's time bound for this particular assignment. So the next thing is for us to have the executive bill that we now go to the National Assembly to be presented, to be drafted by the team that's going to be put together, endorsed by the minister through the Federal Executive Council or the best channel that is being advised. And as of today, I can tell you that the critical stakeholders that are supposed to have input in the drafting of the executive bill have given their consent and even actually sent their nominees to be part of this team. So this team is going to be inaugurated in a matter of weeks, and they are now going to look at the different documents and come up with the draft bill that will now be presented to the National Assembly for the eventual pronouncement of the National Research and Development Foundation.
Check it out there. There is a strong correlation, very strong correlation between investment on R&D and competitiveness of the economies, robustness of the economy, sustainability of the economies of nations. The biggest out there, you check out Nigeria, we've always said, we are in the top 25, largest economies. In Africa, we are number one. But I remember the former president, Umaru Yar'Adua, would want Nigeria to scale up to the top 20. Who says we shouldn't scale up in another 5 to 10 years in the top 10? We have all it takes.
New jobs can be created in the millions through the R&D activities that are focused on value addition to indigenous resources. The transformation of local and raw materials into globally acceptable premium products is what Nigeria needs if it is to retain and grow its wealth. Otherwise, capital flow will always ultimately be outwards, leaving us in constant deficit. TETFund is working to ensure that productivity is enhanced across the different activity sectors of the economy, thereby facilitating wealth creation through backward integration, exportation of premium products, and import substitution. And that is the paradigm shift. On a separate note, in reference to a previous edition of the Paradigm Shift, which focused on TETFund's COVID-19 interventions, we present the following correct and more detailed information. President Muhammadu Buhari approved the provision of an initial 12 molecular science laboratories, 2 per geopolitical zone, with capacity for testing and diagnostics of COVID-19, Lassa fever, and other related viral diseases. Beneficiary institutions are Bayero University, Kano, Umaru Musa Yaradua University, Katsina, University of Jos, University of Ilorin, Kwara, Abubakar Tafawa Balewa University, Bauchi, Taraba State University, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Awka, Abia State University, University of Ibadan, Ekiti State University, University of Port Harcourt, and the University of Uyo. In addition to the 12 molecular labs that TETFund funded in university colleges of medicine and teaching hospitals, 2 more were approved in Ondo and Gombe states, respectively. TETFund was also authorized by the Minister of Education, Malam Adamu Adamu, to provide funding for 6 COVID-19 related special research grants. The joint grants were competed for and won on merit by the following institutions: the National Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC, University of Ibadan, Usman Mfodio University, University of Jos, Nnamdi Azikiwe University, Kaduna State Polytechnic, University of Lagos, and the Nigerian Academy of Science.